Welcome to Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Teresa Een is a fiber artist who sorts, cards, spins, and knits beautiful works of art from scratch. We'll meet her and have a chance to watch her weave her magic. We will visit with members of the Crossroads Community Hospice to learn more about what hospice is and how it can help families with end-of-life decisions. And finally, we travel to Emmons, Minnesota for their annual lutefisk dinner. This Norwegian tradition is alive and well in many communities. The folks in Emmons share their secrets for making this lye-soaked fish not only edible, but delicious. We'll have all this and more. Stay tuned for Cities on the Move. Teresa Een from Owatonna, Minnesota has a knack for creating beautiful yarns, which she then crafts into beautiful sweaters, mittens, and more. Let's meet her now.
I'm Teresa Een. I'm from Owatonna, Minnesota. I am a spinner, weaver, knitter, everything with fiber arts. I love to sew, do needlework, and spinning and weaving has been a life passion. My first experience with spinning and weaving started about 32 years ago. As it is, my family comes from Czechoslovakia, a village of spinners and weavers. And my aunts on my dad's side have been weavers. My dad encouraged me one day when my daughter was just 2 years old to take classes through Community Ed for weaving. From there, I received my private lessons in spinning from a lady who came here from Germany. Next, I went to the library, and I got the books there on spinning and weaving and such, and I read everything I could. And, of course, I bought books of my own, too. And then it's practice. And another thing is to get together with others who do what you do, and that's where I joined my spinners group. We have 10 to 20 ladies in our group. We meet once a month. We've been together for over 18 years. The girls have become my friends. It's incredible when you get together and you sit with 10, 12 spinning wheels in a circle. Everyone is spinning and talking and enjoying themselves. With spinning, there is the process of first finding the sheep. When I find the correct sheep, I have to ask what feed he's being fed, such as grass-fed sheep, oats-fed sheep, give you a much better wool for spinning. Corn-fed sheep adds more lanolin to the wool. It's a little more difficult to spin with, but then you have to get into the correct washing process. In the plying process, also, you can create different yarns, such as you do heather carding, you can do bouclés. There are many ways of creation in the double ply process, which will give you a different kind of yarn, and you can create the yarns like the shops have. Then I would choose my pattern according to how the feel of the yarn is. I may want to do a button down the front sweater, a pullover sweater, which may be used like a jacket in sorts, and that's what I've done in one case with a Shetland. Shetland wool is more scratchy and heavier, so the heavy outer sweater worked good there. I love working in the fiber arts because of the creation. I love to create and to make something from nothing. With spinning, you are starting with something very natural from a beautiful animal. And you work with the fiber, it has been cleaned, you can do the dye work, you put your whole heart and soul into it.
Which is the Minnesota River's largest tributary? Find the answer on our website, ksmq.org.
Well, today we're going to talk about hospice, and many communities have hospice programs, and today we have some special guests from the Crossroads Community Hospice out of Albert Lea. We have Lila Oz.
Hi.
We have Renee Meany.
Hello.
And we have Jackie Carstens. Thanks, ladies, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what exactly hospice is. Renee, maybe you can start us out.
Hospice is a program usually designated for patients that are at their end of life.
they've maybe been diagnosed with a terminal condition that they may have 6 months or less life expectancy is usually the qualifier for them to be starting on hospice services. Years ago, it used to be a cancer disease, that cancer was our primary disease for our care. But as the years have gone on, we've really started to see more disease processes being appropriate for the hospice program, from dementia, heart failure, lung disease, kidney failure. So the gamut of disease processes has grown over the years. So a very good support, not only medically, nursing, social work, hospice aides, our volunteers, just a good entity of a good team approach for care for our patients in the community.
Okay.
And I was going to say, and it's important to know too, it's a philosophy of care, it's not a place. A lot of people still think hospice is a place you go, and we follow people wherever their home is.
Yeah.
All right. And so typically would that ever include end-of-life care in a hospital, or talk about maybe some of the different settings that your team works?
Many times it's in the patient's own home or the family home setting. We are contracted with also our nursing homes in our community, so we have hospice patients in most of our nursing homes in our area. And if it's, we also are contracted with the hospice house in Owatonna, so if there's maybe a need for end-of-life placement in a hospice facility, then we would consider that as an option for many of our patients to choose. We do offer hospitalization at end of life. There's an acute hospitalization, which is usually a symptom management type of hospitalization where maybe things aren't being managed well at home and we need to put them into the hospital to get those symptoms managed and then return home again. Then there is also a respite stay hospitalization, and that is usually a planned event. Families may be tired, or they may have an outing outside of the area and they need to leave the home, so that patient needs to be placed somewhere while they're gone, or to give those family members a rest. Okay. So, yeah.
And when you talk about, you kind of draw that line at 6 months expectation, as many people who have maybe experienced cancer, and you use that as one of your primary examples, that's not always a known factor that far out. How do you make that determination? And maybe, Jackie, you can speak to that. Is that a mindset more than a physical? Or are there specific traits that you look for that kind of say, you might want to consider hospice at this point?
Yeah, and we have a lot of families I might call in and ask about hospice. It takes the physician and really the best guess that they know from experience, and really looking at months versus years. And yeah, they try to go with a 6-month prognosis, but it's really kind of just more of an estimated, and it does take 2 physicians to actually consult and to have someone come into hospice.
Yeah. When my husband was placed in hospice care, it was not something that we had thought of on our own, and it was his doctor who recommended that we consider it. And I was so grateful, and he said, well, you would have thought of it. And I said, no, we wouldn't have. Thank you for suggesting hospice, because it made managing my husband's care in those last weeks very much easier.
And tell us about the support that you received from the team.
Well, it really depends on the individual patient's needs, the individual family's needs. And that's part of, I think, what is so wonderful about hospice is it's to make the family and the patient as comfortable as possible. We know where the destination is, but that we can make the road easier, and getting there is a big part of what hospice is. You can have nursing care, which we did to some extent. You can have health care come in to help with things like bathing and so forth. Okay. You can have volunteers come in so that maybe the spouse or the children, whatever, can have some time away just because they need to take care of things, but they don't dare leave the patient home alone. So it really, really varies, but it's set up to make everything work as well as possible. And I just found it a huge relief to know that if I had a problem at 3 in the morning, I had but to pick up my phone and call, and I would have gotten help.
Nice. Yes. And you mentioned that it needs a doctor's referral, so people can't self-select into this. Do you have to be tied to a particular hospital or physician group to participate in hospice? How does that relationship work?
Usually it depends on where the patient is doctoring,
Okay.
where their primary physician is located. For us in Albert Lea, if their doctor is if their main physician is in Albert Lea, then it would be our hospice that would be providing that care. We service Albert Lea plus about a 30 to 35 mile radius outside of Albert Lea. You know, so there are times that we are driving distances just to cover those patients' care needs. You know, as long as their physician, you know, that they're doctoring in Albert Lea. We actually have criteria that Medicare has directed us to follow to even consider patients to be appropriate for hospice.
Okay.
There are some guidelines that they kind of have to meet. Patients need to meet criteria for them to be even appropriate to start on the hospice program.
Okay. And so this is something that is covered by Medicare under
Yes.
the right circumstances.
Yes.
If people would like to subscribe to this service and do a private pay, is that available? And do they still need to meet those same criteria?
Privately paying is a little bit of a difference, but we try to kind of try to follow those guidelines as well. You know, and it's, like we said, it's a team approach. So it's, you know, the physician, our hospice medical director who oversees all of our hospice patients' care, and then the primary physician as well. So it would be kind of that entity of making sure that it's an appropriate service for that patient at that time.
And it's important to note, too, that we never turn away someone for inability to pay. We do need to look at their insurance and look for that hospice benefit. There are a lot of insurances that have that. If they do not, then we do still have to talk about the charges, but we have donated dollars that can help. So we kind of help them through that, and that's a lot of what I do as a social worker.
Okay, great.
So
That
we
was
never
a
want to turn
great
people
segue
away.
Is tell us about the role that you play and what kind of your role is on the team.
Okay, as a medical social worker, that's one area, helping people with if there's any financial or insurance issues. A lot of it is just really being there for the family and kind of, like Renee said, we work with the patient and the family as our unit of care. And so making sure that family has the resources, that they're doing okay as caregivers. I also coordinate the volunteers, so to make sure we're putting in people so they can have a break. And then just kind of working with the nurses and the rest of the team. A lot of times I may not go out every week like a nurse does, but I may, just depending on kind of what the need is. And
Situation.
yeah.
Now, Lila, you were a client and now you are a volunteer. You clearly found great value in the service that they provide. Tell us about your experiences as a volunteer and why you chose to take that step.
Well, after I had discovered what hospice could do, I just thought, I think this is something I would like to do. They won't let you go through the training program until, is it a year after after your person has died? Because it just would be very traumatic as to go through it as a volunteer. In fact, the first night of training, I thought, I don't know if I can do this. And then Jackie and the other people encouraged me to stay in through the training course. And by the end of it, I thought, yes, I can do this. And so kind of knowing it from both sides, I think, has possibly made me a little bit more empathetic because I've been there. And I know what it's like. And not that that's a necessary criteria at all, but I think in my case it helped me. And I would not have become a hospice volunteer had I not had firsthand experience in what all it could do.
Okay. About how many volunteers do you have?
Currently, I think we're at...
Between 35 and 40.
Yes, I was going to say about
Wow, that's quite a few. And is that enough? Are you looking for more volunteers?
Always encouraging more. You know, there's many variety of things that volunteers help us with in our hospice program. It's not just solely them going and visiting patients. They are also very beneficial for us in our hospice office, doing mailings, doing works
Just
with
other
paperwork,
support work.
other support in the office as well. So our fundraisers, being a part of our fundraisers. So there's many variety of aspects that they can be involved in if they're not comfortable with that patient contact.
Patient care.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, you have a kind of a traditional holiday season, Memories Aglow. Tell us a little bit about that activity and how it's coming to fruition and the lighting of the tree. So give us the rundown.
Let's see, Sunday, December 6th. And for $5, people can donate a light on our tree. And that's a symbolic memory of a loved one or in honor of a loved one. And actually, we leave our tree lit for a month. And so if people can actually donate through the holiday season.
Okay. All right. So if they missed the December 6th, you said?
Right.
Yep. If they miss that, they can still make a contribution, still honor a loved one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's just a nice little service kind of thing. There's usually some music and some reading, and then the big dramatic moment when the lights are plugged in, and it's very touching. And patients, families will typically come, and there's always a little reception afterwards, a time to gather and just chat with one another and the hospice volunteers and the hospice staff. And but it's and there are papers that you can use to fill out that are at all the area clinics, both the Albert Lee one and the outlying clinics, the outpatient pharmacy in the hospital. Some churches may have them available. There will be a form in both the Shopper and the Albert Lee Tribune. So lots of possibilities of ways to make a contribution. Or just call the hospice office.
As well. Okay. Now, as you're caring for your patients, what are some decisions that families need to make as they come to the end of the life of a loved one?
There's a variety of decisions. Most probably prominent is the patient's wishes. You know, how do they want to maybe live out their last few days or months? You know, what quality of care and prominent things do they want to kind of finish before they, you know, their life ends? So I think that's a big priority.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, you know, the goal is always to keep people in their home, and of course that's what we want. We do know sometimes that can be stressful. There are times where, you know, with the decision of the team, if they can't stay at home, then maybe a decision of where we would go next, and that's where we talked about following them in the nursing home. But really trying to keep them at home, and a lot of times too, having that diagnosis and being in hospice, it can bring up a lot of end-of-life discussion and the funeral planning and just the talking amongst family members that maybe was never an opportunity before. So, you know, we hope that happens. That we can try to bring families to talk about things that haven't been easy.
I think even accepting the fact, when you choose to, or, you know, you accept that you are going to be on the hospice program, to accept the fact that, yes, we are talking about the end of a life, and then that does change your mindset. But I think there is that acceptance, and to realize it doesn't have to be bad. And I feel like allowing the patient as much dignity as possible, to respect the patient's wishes. I think that's one of the truly beautiful things about the program.
Having a good death.
Renee, if someone is interested in learning more about the services that hospice provides or interested in becoming a volunteer, how would they get in touch with you?
Just calling our hospice phone number, which is 507-377-6393, and asking the secretary to speak with Jackie or myself or our director, Marcia Smith, to get more information.
All right. So it sounds like you're taking volunteers and are happy to share information and also work on your Set Memories Aglow fundraiser as well to help continue the services. Well, thank you very much, ladies, for coming in today and kind of explaining this. It's sometimes something that we don't realize we need until we need it. So it's very good of you to come and share with our viewers what the programs are about. And there are many hospice organizations in other communities throughout southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. So if you have a question, please be sure to check with your physician. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned for more Cities on the Move.
Meet Frederick Russell Burnham, born in Tivoli, Minnesota in 1861. Burnham, a distinguished service officer, was an American scout and world-traveling adventurer, known for his service to the British Army in colonial Africa and for teaching woodcraft to Robert Baden-Powell, thus becoming one of the inspirations for the founding of the International Scouting Movement.
lutefisk. The mere mention of the word can either evoke shudders or sighs of delight. Let's go to the Emmons Lutheran Church to find out more about this infamous food.
Ole and Lena were visiting one day about the problem Ole had been having with raccoons under the front porch. Ole said,
"Well, we tried the lutefisk trick, and the raccoons went away, and now, don't you know, we got a family of Norwegians living underneath our porch."
Lutefisk season is underway. This annual tradition brings family and friends together in hundreds of church basements around the upper Midwest. According to locals, one of the best dinners is put on by the Emmons Lutheran Church. Mary Bartness was on the original committee.
I was president of the Women of the Church in 1960 when we had our first dinner. And the pastor at that time was very interested in starting the lutefisk dinners also. I think that the reason lutefisk is so popular here is because of all the Norwegian people that live around here. And I think a lot of them grew up with it, and it's just been really a special thing.
This year's dinner was headed up by Lois Eplin. It is a tremendous production involving the entire congregation.
The whole congregation is involved in this dinner.
The food preparation is carefully orchestrated with side dishes such as meatballs, salads, cranberry relish, and lefse. The piece de resistance, of course, is the lutefisk.
Lutefisk is cod, and most of the time it is fished off of the coast of Norway. But lutefisk is has been popular since way back in the time of the Vikings. They catch the fish, the cod, and then they dry it. Then after it has been dried for some time, they will soak it in lye water. And then, of course, after it's soaked for a while, then they soak it in just clear water, and then in time, salt water. Here at Emmons, we cut our fish and put it in cheesecloth, and that cheesecloth is hung on little sticks, which let the lutefisk go down into the water. They boil it, and of course, you have to have lots of butter on it. And a lot of people will have just the lutefisk and butter. Some people will wrap their lutefisk and mashed potatoes and everything right in the lefse. Lutefisk is a fish that has to be prepared just right. If it is overcooked, it does get to be jelly, and it is no good. But if lutefisk is prepared, it can be nice and flaky, and it doesn't have a real fishy taste if it's prepared properly. But yes, it does have a bad odor.
Odor or not, devotees of this dish come from far and wide to enjoy their lutefisk. Some travel to several dinners a year to get their fill. Even full-blooded Germans like Edward Walters from Lime Springs, Iowa, travel to wait in line for the very first seating of the day. He's a regular at several lutefisk dinners around the region.
I have this one buddy here, Kirby Johnson. He's from Saratoga, Iowa. And we've been to Fountain, Minnesota, Casson, Minnesota, Adams, Minnesota, Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. We enjoy the fellowship of the people, and of course we enjoy the lutefisk. Sure, that's the main thing. It starts in the fall. The first one we went to was Jericho, Iowa, and that was on the 13th of September. We did find one in Zumbrota, Minnesota last May.
Camaraderie and celebrating traditions are major draws for dinners.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Pastor Don Dockin. I was a pastor here from 1956 to 62. And I encouraged this thing.
And where do you live now?
I live in St. Paul, Woodbury. I mean, not Woodbury, but Maplewood.
Okay. And so tell us why you're here today and why it's special to you to come back for the dinner.
I got to come back and see the old friends and have my ethnic responsibility and have some lutefisk.
All right. Tell us your name, please.
Oh, Richard Allen.
Richard, where are you from?
I'm from Emmons. I live right across the street here.
Oh, you do?
So
okay.
I'm not far.
All right. And who did you bring along today?
I brought my wife here. She followed me over here. But that's my wife, yep.
Okay.
My sister there, she's from Alberley, and her friend, they're from Alberley.
Okay, great. And why do you come to the lutefisk dinner?
Well, because I try to help the Norwegians out. Because I like lutefisk. It's never had it before I got married to my wife. See, she's a Norwegian, so I guess.
Tell me your name, please.
Vi Nelson.
Where are you from, Vi?
Albert Lee or Knudsen Place.
Okay. And why do you come to lutefisk dinners?
because it's always good. I grew up on the lutefisk.
With more than 700 meals served each season, the Emmons Lutheran Church keeps this Norwegian tradition alive and well. Var så god.
Cities on the Move is on the web. Make a comment, ask a question, or share your good idea by visiting our website at ksmq.org.
This busy holiday season offers many events for you and your family to enjoy. Hillside Church presents a live singing Christmas tree and full musical drama entitled That's the Good News on December 11th through the 13th. The musical tells the story of Will, a radio announcer in a small town in Nebraska, as he faces his first Christmas without his wife. Join them for this touching musical and all the special lights, sounds, and effects of the 32-foot live singing Christmas tree. For more information, visit hillsidemankato.com. If you still have some Christmas shopping to do, check out the Holiday Shoppers Market at the North Iowa Fair facility. Craft, home business, and seasonal goodies will be for sale from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Admission is free. And for more information, call 641-423-3811. And stroll through downtown Rochester, Minnesota between now and December 28th to take part in the Downtown Window Decorating Contest. Downtown businesses will paint their windows with the Winter Wonderland theme. Celebrity judges and community members will vote on the winner, which will be announced online on December 28th. For more information, visit downtownrochestermin.com. If you have an event you would like to share with our viewers, log on to our website, ksmq.org, and post your information today.
Cities on the Move is on the web. Make a comment, ask a question, or share your good idea by visiting our website at ksmq.org.
Next week on Cities on the Move, we will learn more about the upcoming 2010 census, as well as pay a visit to Music Man Square in Mason City. We will also meet zookeeper Jamie Pastica. Please join us Tuesday, December 15th at 6:30 p.m. on KSMQ for another edition of Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Good night.
Production of this program is made possible in part through a grant from the Blandin Foundation.